All right, it looks like we're ready to begin. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll now begin with an opening statement from head coach Dawn Plitzuweit and then go to questions. The media joining us this evening, please use your raise hand function to indicate when you'd like to ask a question. When you're called on for your question, please state your name and affiliation first. Coach, please give us a brief opening statement and then we'll go to questions.
Well, certainly we were shell-shocked at the beginning of that game. We didn't do a good job of taking care of the basketball. We had some shots that were altered or blocked around the rim and didn't get some clean looks. And then in the second quarter, I thought when we started to get some, we were just kind of rushed and didn't make those. So just a really tough first half for us offensively. Certainly, I think, settled down and made some adjustments and got some really good shots in the second half, and then couldn't really follow it up with stops at the beginning of that third quarter. But, I mean, certainly difficult for us to simulate the size when we were going against their 1-2-2 zone, and certainly anticipated that there was a chance they could play big. We just couldn't simulate what it looked like in our practice with our team, and so that certainly was something that just caused us a lot of problems.
We'll now go to questions. Our first one will come from Brian. Unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Brian Henson with the Argus Leader. Dawn, there in the first half with the girls getting rattled, do you think that those offensive struggles just kind of fed in and snowballed into the second quarter as well?
Oh, I certainly do. And you know, it certainly wasn't from a lack of effort from our players. I thought we certainly, you know, have a lot of joy and passion in how they play, and certainly did a lot of great things during the course of the season. Just couldn't find ways to get good opportunities early in that game. And then when we did get them, I just thought we were, you know, felt kind of rushed in the second quarter. You know, I thought we got some pretty good looks, like I said, that just didn't fall for us. And in the third quarter, I thought we were a lot more settled down.
Our next question comes from Zach James. Unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hey, Don, it's Zach James. During that second quarter, what do you say to the girls just to keep their psyches up, to keep that positivity when things weren't going right in that second quarter?
Well, I think we've got some very good leaders in our program, and certainly our three seniors that are on the court. I thought we were working really hard. I thought we were saying the right things. We got, you know, really good looks. They were talking to their teammates, encouraging them to continue shooting. The next one's going to fall. You could hear different things that were taking place during the course of that second quarter. And I think certainly that fed into, you know, the halftime and then settling down in the third quarter, is that they were saying all the right things. We just couldn't get the ball to go in the basket, unfortunately.
Again, use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask a question. Brian, go ahead.
With respect to attacking that length, Dawn, on the offensive end for your shooters, was the plan to try and attack them inside first, or were you looking to beat them from the outside and try and loosen them up a little bit?
Well, we're trying to take what we could get, and I think certainly, you know, we with some dribble penetration, you know, made it difficult because you have to pull up and shoot over some really big length, some great length. You know, we were trying to penetrate, kick it, whether it's pass penetration. I thought Hannah played a great basketball game, got a lot of things going right around that high post area for us, hit some shots from there. You know, in the second half, we used her really to be a distributor and a shooter from there. So, yeah, it just, you know, it's something at our level. In the past, we've had some practice guys that are really big, and, you know, you prep for at home for a few days to do that this year without the access to have practice guys at all. And then plus you're on the road for this long. Even if we would have had them, we would have had to have them travel with us as managers, and we didn't have the access to do that. So it's just hard to simulate, you know, 6'5", 6'7", 6'2", 5'9", 5'11", whatever it is. We just can't simulate that. And so once we got comfortable with it and how to attack it and what kind of shots we were going to get, we were just a lot better.
Our next question comes from Jay Ellison. Please unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hey, Dawn, do you feel like after that first quarter and the way they hit you in terms of the pressure and size, rolling it out the way they did you feel like maybe in the second quarter then that had kind of creeped into the psyche a little bit and just became more of a mental thing than anything, that where shots that were there were being rushed and things like that?
Yeah, I think that when you feel rushed, and I think in the first quarter, we got the ball in some good spots, but then we penetrated the baseline, and then we turned it over doing that. When we passed it back out, whether it was against a man or against a zone, then I think then we had some shots that, like I said, were altered or blocked. Then it becomes a little bit tougher to slow down and get the ball in your hands and stick open shots. And, that was a difficult part for us. We got 21 shots in that second quarter. We took care of the basketball. We did a good job that way for the most part. If one or two of those fall early, the whole thing can really snowball and go the other direction.
Our next question will come from Grant Sweeter. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Don, you kind of alluded to it a few times, but was it a halftime adjustment or was it just shots falling in the second half, or what was the big key to finding an offensive rhythm there?
Yeah, I think we shifted a little bit. We moved Hannah to the high post area, to get more touches there. She got a couple of those early. We were very kind of specific about doing that. And then we hit one or two, and then all of a sudden we felt a lot more confident with some of those shots that we missed in the second quarter. So I think it's a combination of both. And I think our kids are, again, they have worked their tails off. They did a tremendous job all season, had a chance to play in the big dance, and, I think certainly got better as this game wore on, and that's going to help us as we move forward.
Our next question from Brian. Go ahead and ask your question.
With the struggles in the first half, Don, offensively, was there thought maybe of plugging in some different pieces like a Macy or somebody like that who's more of a shooter to try and get things going?
Yeah, I think that we talked about that certainly during the course of even the first half. I think what really makes it difficult is that, Oregon is a team that scores 73 points a game. They score it very efficiently at a 45% clip. They space the floor with shooters. They've got great size, and so to play smaller against them is hard because they were playing a two-post lineup an awful lot of the time. And so, we were trying to figure out, went with Morgan, went with Kaya, went with Morgan, to try to find ways to get us some offensive rhythm. At the same time, we knew that we had to find ways to get stops at the same time to kind of get ourselves back in it. And so that made it really tough, kind of limited our options because of the size that we had to guard too.
We have time for about 3 more questions. Our next question will come from Jay Elson. Please unmute your microphone and go ahead and ask your question.
Don, it's to call this a unique year, I think, is an understatement. How will you remember all that you have been through as a team and a program, and what kind of a building block is it for you?
Well, certainly, it was a difficult year for everybody. And what we talked about with our team is our team faced some very major challenges this year, with having to replace really 3 of our top 6 players from graduation. Megan was a great leader for us. Then, Monica gets hurt early. That really was difficult for us to overcome. We know we have a lot of new pieces. Monica was someone we really were counting on a great deal. Now we lost another really important toughness kid and a kid who can space the floor for us offensively. That provided some challenges. We had, 3.5, 4 week period where we couldn't work with our kids because of testing protocols, all those kind of things. That was a challenge for us. We get into the season. We don't have many home games in our non-conference the way it worked out. That was a challenge. We had 8 in a row on the road in the conference. We have Janiyah go down for a little while with an ankle. We get, Kaya's playing really well. Then Kaya gets hurt. We finally get Kaya back really right before this tournament. Lexi was playing great. Alexi gets hurt. So our kids have faced a great deal of adversity this year. And what I'm going to remember is how they embraced that adversity. There wasn't a team in the country, in my opinion, and again, obviously I don't know every team, but you couldn't have played with more energy and more passion than this group did. And so certainly really proud of how our young ladies embraced the adversity that we faced this year and really found ways to continue getting better. Outside of the first half of this game, we were playing our best basketball, late in the season, which is something that every team wants to do. Unfortunately, we had a really tough first half.
Our final question will come from Zach Borg. Please unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Zach Borg, Dakota News Now. Coach, somewhat to that end, you could bring most of this team, if not all of it, back next year. What's the next step this team can take as you start to look ahead to next year? I know it's a little tough right now, but if you can get this entire group back, there's got to be a lot of optimism for maybe pushing it a little bit farther next year.
Well, certainly we're looking forward to that, and I think we do have a very, very core group coming back. You know, I know for sure Claudia is a young lady who is pursuing some of her academics and won't be, and she is a young lady who has given so selflessly to our program over the course of her time, and someone that we're greatly going to miss, and someone that we will celebrate. You know, certainly, you know, we're still kind of in flux a little bit with where Monica is going to be at and what's going to, you know, where her academics are going to take her, and if she can do it academically and play basketball, you know, and I pray that she does have an opportunity to come back. I pray that she can find a way, or academically we can find a way to make it work, because this is a really, really challenging, you know, experience for her, and what a selfless young lady. And we talked all about that after the conference tournament, you know, but beyond that, I think we have a great core of young ladies coming back. We have some really good kids coming in. And so certainly our goal is to right now celebrate this team, and then we'll build for the future after that.
Thank you, Coach, for your time this evening. Congratulations on a great season. Look forward to seeing you next year. We'll now be joined by student athlete Hannah Servin. Please, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand at this time. Thank you for joining us, Hannah. Our first question will come from Brian. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, Anna, the start to the game there, was it just nerves setting in, or what was happening there that resulted in those turnovers and that start there offensively?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get a flow of the game going when your shots aren't falling, and that's something I guess that obviously no one expects that coming into a game, and we've got a young crew, and it just took some time to turn that around.
Our next question will come from Jay Elson. Please unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hannah, did you feel as the way that first quarter went with the pressure and the size that they were kind of combating you with right off the jump, did it feel like it kind of almost rattled you guys a little bit, and that maybe contributed to the way that the shots weren't falling?
Maybe. I think our team did a really good job of staying composed. I mean, our shots may not have showed that, but everyone on the court was echoing just, you know, keep shooting. Your next shot's going to fall. We got this. I don't think there was a moment where that kind of team chemistry faltered, and I'm really proud of our team for that.
Our next question will come from Zach James.
Hannah, was it more of what they were doing with their length to make you ladies take difficult shots, or was it taking rush shots? Do you think there were smart shots in there? How do you assess how the first half went in terms of shot selection and how their length affected that?
Yeah, they're a great team. They're a great shooting team. 21 for them was going off, and I think for us, when we get the best offense is when we play good defense. And we needed to find that rhythm on defense before we could start making things happen on offense.
Mute your microphone and ask your question.
In the second half there, was it just as simple as seeing those first couple shots go in that got you guys on track offensively, or was there something different going on there?
Yeah, it feels good for those shots to go in, and I think what we were just saying to each other was it's not going to happen all at once, just little by little. Get a steal, get a stop, get a rebound, and then go down and score, and just keep trying to chip away at it as much as we could in the second half, and I think we did a good job of doing that. Unfortunately, we just dug ourselves too big of a hole in the first half.
Again, if you have any questions, please use your raise hand function. Next question from Zach Borg. Unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hannah, it's been a long 2 years since you last played in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, this is not the results you wanted, but just to be back here after everything that's gone on in the last year alone, What does it say about this team and how should this team be remembered?
It's a great accomplishment for our team. I've said it before. There was a lot of people that, doubted with Kira leaving and Maddie and all the other great players that we lost in the last year through injury or graduation. And I think that we could have just kind of stepped down from the challenge. And I don't think for a second that we did that. We played really good teams all year in the Summit League and in our non-conference. And I don't think there was a game where we gave up once, and that's something for us to be really proud of. We have the conference tournament championship to be very proud of. That's a big accomplishment and something that we want to keep doing. So, I mean, losing right now, it stings, but I don't think we have to hang our heads on this season.
Our next question will come from Jay Elson. Go ahead.
Just kind of branching off that too, Hannah. I mean, with everything that's gone on, each team is unique, and obviously last year was awfully special for a lot of reasons, barring the way it ended. But as you look back on it, I mean, and reflect on it, in the immediacy of this, how will you remember this group, this team, this journey?
I think specifically remembering, Monica and Claudia. Mon hasn't made her decision yet. Claude has, and just honoring all the work that they put in, and certain players really stepped up for us this year, and just Liv, Morgan, Macy. You can look at any game, and there was a player that stepped up at any time. Pep stepped up for us big time in the conference tournament, and you can go down the roster and find a game where we stepped up, and I think that's just a good way to look at this season.
We have time for a few more questions. If anyone has one, please raise your hand. Our next question will come from Brian. Go ahead.
Hannah, obviously things are fresh, but with regards to your future, are you thinking you're going to give it another go at USD, or what's ahead for you?
South Dakota, they took a big chance on me when I transferred. I hadn't played a lot at South Dakota or at New Mexico, and Coach P and the rest of the coaching staff worked with me, and I was nowhere near ready to play when I came here during my redshirt year. So I feel like there's a lot of unfinished business for me here, and it would be really hard to leave.
Last call for any questions. Zach Borg, go ahead.
On that note, if you can bring most, if not all of this team back next year, how much farther do you think you can take this thing now that you've had a year together and you've been through an NCAA tournament, and obviously things will be a little more, we would imagine, normal next year?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't think there's a ceiling on what we can do if we have a full summer to train with the new freshmen, with our freshmen from this year. I think I wouldn't want to put a ceiling on what we could do.
Thank you, Hannah, for your time this evening. Congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
That's it for this post-game news conference. A recording of this press conference will be posted in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.